Long ago, in the beautiful and peaceful kingdom of Valmoria, there ruled a brave and kind king named King Aldurin. The people loved their ruler deeply because he governed the kingdom with fairness and compassion. Yet inside the royal palace, a quiet tension existed. King Aldurin had two queens. The first queen, Queen Eleanor, came from a powerful royal family. She was proud, ambitious, and easily angered when things did not go her way. The second queen, Queen Miriam, was born into a poor family from a distant village. She was gentle, humble, and kind-hearted. The king had married her not for wealth or power, but because he truly loved her. For some time, the palace remained peaceful, until one joyful day when news spread across the kingdom that Queen Miriam was expecting a child. The entire palace filled with celebration. Music echoed through the halls, and the people of Valmoria prayed for the safe birth of the royal heir. But while everyone celebrated, Queen Eleanor watched the joy with cold and jealous eyes. She had never been able to bear a child, and the happiness of the kingdom slowly turned into bitterness in her heart. Jealousy grew inside her like a dark shadow, until one evening she made a terrible decision. While the royal cook was preparing a meal for Queen Miriam, Queen Eleanor quietly entered the dining chamber. She carefully looked around to make sure no one was watching. Then from the folds of her dress she removed a tiny crystal vial. Inside it was a deadly poison. Without hesitation, she poured the poison into the queen's food and silently slipped away. Later that evening, Queen Miriam sat down to eat. But after only a few bites, a terrible pain spread through her body. Her hands trembled, her face turned pale, and suddenly she collapsed to the floor. Panic spread throughout the palace. King Aldurin rushed into the chamber and immediately called the royal physician. After examining the queen, the physician spoke with great concern. Someone had poisoned her. Before anyone could question further, Queen Eleanor stepped forward and softly claimed that she had seen one of the palace maids mixing something strange into the food. The king, terrified for his wife and unborn child, believed her words without hesitation. The innocent maid was arrested and thrown into prison, but the king cared only to save Queen Miriam. The royal physician explained that the poison was extremely rare and that no cure existed within the palace. However, there was one faint hope. A magical blue flower that grew only on the highest peak of Mount Cathiver could cure the poison, but it had to be brought before sunset. Without wasting a moment, King Aldurin sent his bravest soldiers to climb the dangerous mountain. They fought through thorns, sharp rocks, and steep cliffs while the sun slowly began to sink toward the horizon. Just when hope was fading, one soldier suddenly saw a glowing blue flower shining on the mountain peak. With great joy, they quickly plucked the flower and rushed back to the palace. The petals were crushed and mixed with water, and the king gently gave the potion to Queen Miriam. For a long moment, nothing happened. Then slowly the poison began leaving her body. Color returned to her face, and the queen survived. Days later, Queen Miriam gave birth to a baby girl. The child was astonishingly beautiful, with pale skin like moonlight, deep blue eyes, and soft blue hair that shimmered faintly in the light. The child was astonishingly beautiful, with pale skin like moonlight, deep blue eyes, and soft blue hair that shimmered faintly in the light. For a short time happiness returned to the palace, but fate had one more cruel twist waiting. One day the baby began to cry, and when Queen Miriam gently wiped the child's tears, she suddenly screamed in pain. Her hand burned as if it had touched fire. The royal physician was called again, and after carefully examining the baby, he delivered terrifying news. The poison that had once harmed Queen Miriam had passed into the child. It now lived inside the princess, and even her breath or tears could carry deadly poison. Fear quickly spread through the palace, and soon whispers turned into panic among the people of the kingdom. They begged the king to remove the princess before the poison harmed others. Fear quickly spread through the palace. King Aldurin's heart shattered, but the safety of the kingdom rested upon his shoulders. With tears streaming down his face, he wrapped the baby princess in cloth, mounted his horse, and rode far beyond the kingdom. He traveled across forests, across mountains, until he reached a lonely green valley where no people lived. There beneath the open sky, he gently placed his daughter upon the grass. He kissed her forehead one final time and whispered through tears, "Forgive me, my child. Today I am not a king, only a helpless father." Then with a broken heart he turned away and rode back toward the kingdom. Left alone in the silent valley, the baby princess began to cry loudly. Her sorrowful cries echoed through the mountains, and high above on a distant peak a ruby fairy heard the sound. The fairy loved humans and often watched them from afar. When she saw the helpless baby crying alone, her heart softened with compassion. She flew down with her glowing wand and gently waved it, creating a fountain of warm milk to feed the hungry child. When the baby smiled, the fairy knew she could not abandon such innocence. With her magic, she created a small warm house hidden in the valley and secretly began protecting the child. Years passed, and the lonely baby grew into a young woman known as Princess Blue Rose. She was beautiful, kind, and gentle, yet she lived with a terrible truth. The poison inside her meant she could never live among humans. One day a white snake entered the valley. The strange poisonous air did not harm it. Instead it felt peaceful. When the princess saw the snake, she warned it to stay away, fearing her poison might kill it. But nothing happened. The snake remained safe. For the first time in her life, someone could stay near her. The snake became her only friend, and she shared with it all her loneliness and sadness. One quiet night, a bright light filled the garden. The white snake slowly transformed into a handsome young man. He revealed that he was Prince Jasp, the ruler of the Snake Valley. Because snakes carried poison in their bodies, the princess's poison could never harm him. Slowly their friendship turned into love. Yet Princess Blue Rose still carried one deep sorrow. She longed to return to the palace and reveal the truth about Queen Eleanor's betrayal. With the help of the Ruby Fairy, she and Prince Jasp transformed into snakes and secretly traveled back to the kingdom. When they reached the palace, they revealed their true forms before King Alderin and Queen Miriam. The princess told them everything. An investigation began. Old servants were questioned, and hidden poison bottles were discovered inside Queen Eleanor's chambers. The truth could no longer be denied. Queen Eleanor was imprisoned for her crime. King Alderin fell to his knees and embraced his daughter with tears, begging for forgiveness. Princess Blue Rose forgave him with a gentle heart, but she knew she could never remain in the human world. The poison still lived inside her, so she returned with Prince Jasp to the Snake Valley, where her poison was no longer a curse, but a power. There they were married, and ruled their magical kingdom in peace. And the story of the Blue Rose Princess became a legend that people would tell for generations. If you believe in magic, don't forget to subscribe.